What is up, Shadow Zone fans, followers, ladies and gentlemen, boils and ghouls, however you want to call it? I'm your Shadow Zone host, the ghost host with the most, Brian James, and welcome to Worldwide Terror Talk Wednesday. Now, typically we have a guest on our show for Wednesdays, but something's come to our attention and we're not exactly happy about it. See, we touched on a subject about a week ago, and this person has fired back, stating that we are liars, we are trolls, and among other things that have been said. Hey guys, hey Taryn, how you doing? But here's the fact, guys. As the bottom reads, the paranormal field can fall victim to lies and misleading information too. And honestly, all we're doing is trying to save future families, podcasters, and investigators a lot of grief, a lot of time, and pretty much just trying to save them from this individual. Um, so, and as far as slandering goes, we do not condone slandering, as slandering is the misinformation of, talking about people. There is no misinformation that will be put on this show. Everything that is said will be backed up by documents, and we've had enough of it. I extremely idolize this person for everything that he claimed he did, and to come and find out that it's all lies and deceit for, I don't know what, a personal gain, maybe to change his life around before he passes away. I don't know, but I can tell you I'm hurt. I can tell you I'm pissed off, and I can tell you I'm disgusted by this individual. I can tell you I'm hurt. I can tell you I'm pissed off, and I can tell you I'm disgusted by this individual. I can tell you I'm hurt. I can tell you I'm pissed off, and I can tell you I'm disgusted by this individual. I can tell you I'm hurt. I can tell you I'm pissed off. Are you looping me over here, Elvin? I'm disgusted.
Nope. It's not on my end, bro.
I can tell you I'm hurt. I can tell you I'm pissed off. Are you looping me over here, Elvin? I'm disgusted.
Nope. It's not on my end, bro.
I can tell you I'm all right. Oh, that was quite interesting. Yeah, I noticed I was looping there, Paranormal Brew. Quite interesting. Yeah, I noticed I was looping there, Paranormal Brew. Quite interesting. Hey, it seems to have stopped. All right, there, Paranormal Brew. Quite interesting. Hey, it seems to have stopped. All right, there. What the heck? All right. This is quite weird. Very weird. All right. Well, once Eldon gets in here, if this continues, I will go ahead and I'll mute my microphone just in case it does the loopsies once again. And yeah, we'll start the show. And definitely get this figured out. I wish I knew what was going on. Eldon, let's try this again, shall we? I wish I knew what was going on. Eldon, let's try this. All right, this is very disturbing here. So what I'm gonna do, folks, is I'm gonna hop in the back and I'm gonna let Eldon take over for a little bit, and then I will be back. And once again, we'll get this show up and rolling. So just bear with me for a few seconds here, ladies and gentlemen. So, I don't know if you guys know what it's like to have somebody you admire and care for and think the world of lie to your face and tell you everything like this. Because this is the first time, honestly, it's ever happened to me. But I'm going to shut up now that I'm not looping anymore. Thank you, Eldon, for whatever you did.
Hey, I just restarted, man. That was pretty weird. I've never experienced that before.
So the person in general here, ladies and gentlemen, that we are talking about is Robert Charles Riggi. He's claimed that he has talked to Ted Bundy. He's received letters from serial killers. He's a parapsychologist. He's worked for the FBI. He's licensed in 15 states. He helps kids at their time of need. This, that, and the other. And when called out about it, he instantly went on the defense, talking mad crap about everybody that has brought anything to light about it. Well, we're here to tell you guys that we have done a lot of digging. And when I say we, I mean Eldon. But yeah, let's start it off, brother.
Well, first off, I'm going to mute your mic there. No offense there, Brian. But first off, let me start off by saying, there's been a lot of research into this. It's not just been on my behalf. There's a few different teams, and Paranormal Brews also helped out in this effort. And I want to put a shout out to Paranormal Brew. This wouldn't have come to light, I don't think, without their efforts. Which is what prompted me to look into it. And originally I started looking into this because, I really wanted to believe what I was being told. And, I couldn't really wrap my head around that somebody could actually come out with this kind of information and lie blatantly about this stuff, and that they've been doing it for as long as they have, and it hasn't been questioned and it hasn't been brought to light. So I certainly went on, a venture to try to prove that what his claims were correct, but unfortunately in digging, I have actually found out the opposite. Matter of fact, you can't really find much out about him. The things that we did find out leads every direction to believe that someone wouldn't be licensed in that field, nor would they work in the capacity of an organization or an agency in that field by any stretch of the means. So, yeah, there's been a lot of investigating going on with it. There's been quite a few people involved in that, not just myself. But we do have some documentation risen up. Brian, go ahead.
What's that, boss?
I said, you go ahead.
Yeah. So, what we're going to do tonight is bit by bit prove what we can And it's nothing personal against anybody. You know, we called him out, and all we said was, show us some proof, show us a documentation, show us something to show that you are who you are. You do what you do. You show us something. And instead we get called liars and trolls and a bunch of different names. And it's time to expose him for what he is. And that's a fake, a fraud, and a lying sack of shit.
So to piggyback on that and what Brian said, and legitimately that if it's brought forward that he has any substantial evidence supporting what his claims are, we'll definitely retract everything we've said, and I'll give him a public apology, high and low. There is no doubt about it. However, based on the evidence that we're finding, I don't really think that that's going to be possible for him to do unless it's fabricated by a computer or computer generated somewhere. So, without any further ado, Brian, what topic do you want to touch on first?
Well, the first fact I would like to touch on, sorry, I'm going by really loud fans. The first subject I would like to talk on is the man said that he has never been in trouble with the law. So let's start out from the beginning and work our way through.
Okay. So he's never been in trouble with the law. Now, let me first inform everybody that the evidence and documentation that we've obtained is definitely public information. We did not violate anybody's privacy while doing this. And you can search your browsers and websites for places you can go to look for this. And most certainly, if you want to know the websites, just get with me later and I can give you the links to them. They're definitely public. So let's touch on he's never been, how did you put it, Brian? He's never been in trouble before, you said, or what was the claim?
Correct. He's never been in trouble with the law.
Okay. All right. So let me bring something up first, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'll share my screen right there. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. You're welcome.
And I'll bring that up a little bit closer. And let me just dig in my files here. And I'm going to pull up a document here from the state of Iowa, the county of Dallas County, Iowa. Back in November of 1998, you'll notice down here, and if you're on a computer, I'm sure you can see this. If you're on a phone, you may not be able to. But definitely back in 1998, there was a couple of charges there that he was in trouble with, most definitely. So, I mean, that in itself kind of discredits that claim right there in itself. But if that's not enough to really close the deal on his statement on that, then we can bring up the Illinois record as well and the list of arrest records that he's got here, totaling in 6. So if he's ever said he's never been arrested before, well, there's 7 records right there to show that he's definitely been arrested. And if you can see this, what the charges are, you can see what those are over there to the right. But in total, in Illinois alone, looks like incarceration time was a total of 5 months and 3 weeks incarcerated.
Now, for the fans that can't see those charges, can you zoom in on them or read them?
Let me see here. Let me see if I can zoom in on this just a little bit better. I hope this helps a little bit. These are the charges off to the right. And then I can bring each charge up separately and show you what they're classified as far as crime level goes, which is very important to his claim of belonging to certain agencies in Florida and the FBI and things of that nature. So if I bring this one here back up, if I go back to the original one, you'll notice down here the charges. There is one there, fugitive from justice. I find that to be very interesting. If you're never in trouble with the law before, well, you've certainly never been a fugitive. And just to reiterate that, if we look at this right here, you'll notice that it does have his name up here. Now, the reason that this is Dallas County, Iowa, is because during this time frame, he did in fact live in Iowa during this time, and he was arrested and extradited to Illinois, which, and I'll take this back. Sorry about this, guys. You'll notice that that was on November 9th, 1998. And subsequently enough, you'll notice in Illinois, he was, let's see, booked on 12/2/1998, just a month later in Illinois. And it's because he was a fugitive and was incarcerated and extradited back to Illinois to stand charges for a previous offense. And you'll see that in a later slide here as well. So let's see here. Let's see. So these are the two here that I want to point out, and this is basically his criminal and traffic record. I'm not worried about his traffic. I think we've all gotten a speeding ticket here or there. It's neither here or there with this. But the two I want to focus on is the ones in red, where let's see, this one here. This is the original charge that he was facing charges for extradition out of Iowa, spanning back to 1992. It was a criminal felony charge of theft. And also in 2001, there's a criminal felony charge of false statement, basically to obtain credit, which is actually fraud. So these are fraud and theft cases is what these are, and both of them are at a felony level. So let's see. If there's any doubt, by the way, you'll notice that this here is an arrest record here, jail records. So for someone who's never been in trouble with the law before, this is definitely our friend, Mr. Riggy. I think we all recognize him. There's his name. And that's a failure to appear on that charge. This is also on, let's see, that's the one in 2001. Also, Mr. Riggy, that's a separate arrest. And this is the one where he was actually extradited, the 12/2/1998. That's the one where he was extradited from Iowa to Illinois to face charges. And here is the later one. This is the one where he was arrested for false statement to obtain credit. So I think we've pretty much established the fact there.
We do have a question. Huntophobia wants to know if we are going to talk about the felonies. What were the felony charges?
So the felony charges, so let me bring these up. So this is the first one right here. This is the felony theft charge, okay? And this one here, yeah, this is the one. Okay, so this is the first one here. He was definitely given confinement he was sentenced to 3 years imprisonment, and he was credited time served for 127 days. So he served all but 127 days of this sentence because he got credit for 127 days. And I'll go to the second part of that because there's more to follow after that. And this will be the second part to that. And this describes basically all of the proceedings from 1992 all the way to the last entries of 2011. So he definitely spent at least a year and a half in prison for this particular here or issue here in the Illinois Department of Corrections. And he was sentenced. So it's not like it was vacated. It wasn't expunged or anything like that. He was convicted on a felony charge. That makes him a felon without a doubt. This was a class 3 felony, by the way. The second case, again, this is the false to submit or obtain information for credit. He was given 180 days, and this is confinement that he got on this. And he got 4 days time served. And he also got probation on this, spanning from 2002 to 2005. So I think the statement that he's never been in trouble before or never been arrested before or incarcerated is absolutely false. It's incorrect. So that's definitely squashed there. Any other questions there, Brian, that I can't see that?
To answer your question, Paranormal Brew, he was sentenced for 2 counts of fraud, pretty much.
Yeah, it comes down to fraud is what it comes down to. It's really what the charges are. Fraud. The first one was fraud in a movement towards theft. It was in order to steal from another person by giving false information. And the second charge was fraud by giving information to obtain credit.
So let's move on to, yes, it was death of a disabled elderly lady for a good amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to him being licensed in 15 different states.
Okay, so that's very interesting. So here's what we had to do on that, and I'll kind of tell what we went through on this. I did contact the state of Florida to try to find some information out on him. Before today, I didn't really know where, because all he's ever said is that he worked for the state of Florida in the capacity of being a forensic psychologist. So the agency of Florida was never really narrowed down. However, today I did get information that the claim is a place called South Beach, Florida, which, if you know anything about South Beach, Florida, you'll notice that it's not a city, it's a district or a neighborhood within a city. The city is actually Miami Beach. South Beach is a district within Miami Beach, Florida. So to claim that you work for South Beach, Florida, it's just kind of ridiculous, because no agency even exists for South Beach, Florida, first of all. So in doing so, there's not really a number you can call or agency you can call to verify who is what and they work for them or whatever. So what I had to do is I took their advice in searching the website, and I'll kind of share that with you here in a second. Let me pull that up. Okay, so this is the website here that they suggested me go to. It's Florida Health or Florida Department of Health, and the website is flhealthsource.gov. And when you go here, it'll right up here where it says license verification. It'll ask you to board and counsel the profession or the sub-profession. And then down here at the bottom, it'll give you 2 statuses to choose from. It'll give you current active statuses. It'll along with that line, it'll also add in there the current licenses that are under corrective action. And it's got the second type, which is inactive licenses or license that's been either retired, suspended, or revoked. So this is what this means by all statuses here. So this is covering every single license. I mean, even a contractor's license would really be in here, or, working in any capacity of the health field. So we did type in Robert Riggy's name there. And when I hit the search field down here at the bottom, I will share with you what that was. And this is for Florida, mind you. This is not the national search. And let me zoom that up. This is what comes up for Mr. Riggy in Florida as being a licensed psychologist at any level, any degree whatsoever in Florida. There is no license for Mr. Riggy in Florida. Now, I know that he says that he is licensed in 15 different states. Well, I'd have to go through 50 plus websites to try to get that information. So I just did a national hit on him. And let me see if I can find that there. I've got it here. Oh, there we go. This is my national search. And you can look this up online as well. Everybody can find it. You can pull it up. Anybody can go to it, type in his name. And by my surprise, look what I found when I typed in his name on a national level. So not only is he not licensed in the state of Florida, but he's not licensed in any state across the United States of America, period, in anything for psychology. Now that brings me to some facts. In order to be a forensic psychologist for any organization or agency anywhere in this country, you'll have to be licensed. I'm not telling you that you can go to school and get your degree and go be a forensic psychologist. You have to be licensed. That's required. And in order to do that, that takes quite a bit to do. So the fact that there is no record of him whatsoever in the databases that he should be in if he was licensed, I think answers the question as to whether he's licensed or he's not. Brian?
In podcasts, he likes to state that Ted Bundy's execution, he remembers it like it was yesterday, was on a Sunday. So my question to you is, which day did Ted Bundy get executed, Eldon?
Well, anybody can go to their calendar on their computer or anything like that, and you can go back to 1989, and you'll discover that that particular date fell on a Tuesday, not a Sunday.
So my question to you is would any school or university in America ever let students who are just entering the forensic or the psychology field in general, do you feel that they would let you go and just interview a serial killer?
Do I feel that? No. Do I agree with that they would allow that? No.
Now, don't get us wrong, ladies and gentlemen. He somehow might have talked to Ted Bundy. But here's the thing. Without a license and without any credentials, I personally do not believe that anybody is getting anywhere near a maximum security prison, especially to talk to a serial killer.
Especially not being working in a professional capacity, not having the credentials to support it. He wouldn't have been able to gain access to somebody of that magnitude, no.
And also, his knowledge was wrong to where he said that Ted Bundy was buried. He was actually cremated and spread across the Washington Cascades, where he buried at least 4 of his victims. He also claims that smoke came from Ted Bundy's head during the execution, which it actually came from his leg. So, I mean, there's a lot of holes in his story.
So let me touch on another fact there, Brian. How it pertains to our field, and one of the things that makes him so appealing to a lot of people is the fact that he's been present on at least one exorcism, he claims, that's been sanctioned by the Archdiocese of Chicago. This is one of his claims. So I'd like to share with everybody something that I discovered on this. And let me go here and pull this up.
And like we said before, folks, you guys can look all this stuff up yourself. You know, we just wanted to do this to make people and family aware to not get in contact with this guy, that he is going to take advantage of your situation and he is going to try to con you any way.
So let's look at this article right here, and I found this online, put out by the New York Times, and the date of it was November 29th, 2000, when this was published for the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Now, I highlighted the statement that I wanted to kind of push out there, and that is, and if you can't read it, I'll read it for you. That belief was at the root of a decision by the Archdiocese of Chicago to appoint a full-time exorcist last year for the first time in its 160-year history. So now let's put a timeline into this. This article was written in 2000. And when they're referring to last year, what they're talking about is for the first time in its 160-year history, in 1999 is when they ended up appointing a full-time exorcist. During this time, as we know from the arrest records and the criminal history, that in 1999, he was incarcerated in the year of 1999. So that means by 2000, he was already a convicted felon. I don't know. First of all, before 1999, they weren't performing exorcisms. It wasn't sanctioned. Let me put it this way. The Archdiocese of Chicago was not sanctioning exorcisms prior to 1999. So that's out of the equation. Once he gets released in 2000, could he have been a part of an exorcism in the capacity of a psychologist after that date? I'm thinking likely not. He's already a felon. He doesn't have any prior licenses for that field. And I just don't see the Archdiocese of Chicago allowing someone that is a felon that has no licenses in the field to be present while somebody is having an exorcism performed on them. I just don't see that as happening.
And you know, if they say, if he says he was at the Ted Bundy interview and execution, we have watched numerous interviews from different TV stations and that have been put on YouTube. And wouldn't you think they would have interviewed Robert Rigi if he was there and interviewed Ted Bundy?
Well, there was in fact 42 people present during the execution in the execution staging area where they were witnessing. I personally have not been able to gain access to that list. I am currently working on it. But I do know that the room would have had to have been big enough for 42 people to be in it, because that's definite. That's a fact. There was 42 people there. I know that there was only 2 reporters in that room. So who the other 40 people were amongst the victims' families, I believe the prosecuting attorney was in there. I believe his attorney was in there. So beyond those folks, I'm not sure who the rest were. I don't have that list, but I know it was big enough to hold at least 42 people.
Interesting. What else do we got?
I've just got, so Kenny says that the priest he claims did the exorcism of Kenny was, let's see, Michael. No, Michael. No, absolutely not. Give me 1 minute. And I did find that information out. I do know who the priest was during this time. And that's not the priest that was actually in place by the Diocese of Chicago. So give me just 1 moment and I'll search for that information. I got it right here. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and keep talking there, Brian.
What's that?
Keep talking.
So, you know, with the whole FBI forensic file case, oh, he's saying that's the priest that Robert claims did it, is what Kenny was saying.
Yeah. Um,
So, in order to be a forensic in any state or psychologist in any state, you're looking at 10 to 12 years, and that's just getting your feet wet. You're coming out of Greenhorn, and by that time, it in fact determined that if Rigi went in at 19 years old, that he would have been a greenhorn by the time Bundy was executed.
mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, but they're not going to let a greenhorn in on Bundy's death, or let alone let somebody that's a greenhorn go in and interview him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not going to happen.
So that the priest that I was talking about that I come across for the Archdiocese of Chicago, his name is Jeffrey Grob. He was with the Archdiocese of Chicago since 1992, and he's actually just recently, since September 11th, 2020, been appointed as one of their auxiliary bishops there for the Archdiocese. So he's been with them since 1992. That's the one I was talking about.
Huntophobia. A greenhorn is another word for a rookie.
Yep. Green behind the ears. It's kind of a slang term for a rookie.
So, we laid down that he is in fact a two-time felon. We've laid down that he is not licensed in any state whatsoever. We've laid down that almost factual he did not do anything with Ted Bundy. What else, boss?
Well, it's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate, Um, and I would have. This isn't something that you like to do,
No, it's really not, especially some my.
Here's the trouble. We've got folks in our field that they have podcasts, they have shows that they're doing, they have livelihoods that they're trying to maintain, and someone of this lack of credibility comes on their shows, and next thing you know, their followers are watching this or taking advice from somebody that doesn't hold these credentials. And at the end of the day, as one of our good friends likes to say, I'll say it again, at the end of the day, don't laugh, Brian. I know he's watching. At the end of the day,
one more time.
At the end of the day, it can be damaging for somebody coming on your podcast making these claims. It can be damaging if a parent is watching these podcasts with a child that may be ill or in some type of psychological trouble and is reaching out to somebody that doesn't have these credentials. This is very, very damaging to those individuals, and it's a very dangerous game that he's playing with people's lives. And it's not cool. It's just not cool at all. And those folks in our field need to be aware of it, and they need to have an awareness of what's happening with the situation.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yep.
And you see, he does work in the soup kitchen, which, I commend that. That's awesome. You make food for the homeless, and, that's admirable. But man, you ain't got to make up all these lies just to be a part of our field. Man, I
No,
would have accepted him as just helping the homeless out, and I would have let him in with open arms.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure none of us are perfect. I mean, but
Absolutely, we've all made our mistakes.
to blatantly do something like that, I don't agree with, and I think everybody needs to be aware of that. That have these podcasts, and I know there's some of us that don't agree with us putting names out there and the things that we have, and that's just fine too. But really, what it's about awareness and making sure that those people that are holding podcasts, and trust me, I'll be sharing this with everybody that I can that I know is holding podcasts, so that they're aware of one, what they've had on their show, and two, prevent this from happening again.
Absolutely.
So,
It's just unfortunate. I mean, we can't tell you if he ever went to college and got a degree in any of this because
well,
those aren't public records.
unfortunately, I was able to kind of access, and I mean kind of access some of those records. And unfortunately, because they have a slight misspelling in his name, I didn't want to add that into the evidence because that'll give, an opportunity to rebuttal that and say, oh, well, look, that's not my name or whatever. So I chose not to put that in evidence. However, there's enough there for me to know that he does not have a degree in psychiatry either. But that's from my personal knowledge. And, if I guess if he wants to challenge me on it, that's fine. He can. Then I'll deal with him on that. And I have no problem with that. I doubt he'll confront me with it because this isn't something that you want to come out and try to confront. This is something you want to try to get away from.
Hey, Paranormal Brew, if you know how to get a hold of Kenny, send him the link that I sent you. And I would like Kenny to come on the show and give us the information that he has. But before you do, Kenny, please make sure that everything is backed up and is 100% factual, brother.
And yeah, Kenny, you're right. His employment history doesn't reflect his alleged degree. Um, if you're a well seasoned and schooled forensic psychologist working for the state of Florida, if you are a profiler for the FBI and for, I don't know, quote unquote, South Beach, Florida, well, that's not even a city, you certainly wouldn't be working as a sales representative for SMC Corporation. So you're right. His work history does not match his alleged credentials, that's for sure. So yeah, Brian, talking about the SMC, all I'll say is this: is all you got to do is just type in Robert's name on the Google search engine with the SMC with it. It'll come up. Anybody will be able to find it. So, like I said, nothing we have here is confidential stuff. It's all public information. Anybody can find it. Just use your search engine and you can find it.
You see, my question is he decided to do all this. I mean, did he not think that somebody wasn't going to look into him?
I think maybe that's what he was hoping.
Oh, bullshit.
But yeah, Kenny, you're right. SMC was only 2 years, 2004 to 2006.
Here's the thing. Or, sorry, here's the deal.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, yeah, I got both of you on that one.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
did.
we're all humans, guys. We fuck up. We make mistakes. We've all lied at one point. We've all stolen candy from a store or something like that to get in trouble at one point. You know, I'm not passing judgment on Robert Reiki. I don't pass judgment on anybody. I
No,
ain't
but
no better than the homeless dude that sleeps downtown in a sleeping bag trying to stay warm.
but
I
we got
ain't
to
no
face
better than that
facts.
person, man.
The fact is, though, Brian, unfortunately, he is a convicted liar. That's really what it boils down to when you look at those charges. He frauded twice. They're two felony fraud charges, and what do you think that is? It's lying. I mean, he's basically convicted for lying.
You know, I just, I don't know, man. I'm at a loss for fucking words right now, man. You know, I mean, he's a liar. He's a thief. You know, and I guess his way to get away from his past is create an elaborate life that I think he believes.
Well, yeah, just don't come on here and I didn't want to take it to this length, and I didn't want to go to these this type of situation here. It's like I told you, a short while ago that I was pretty much done with it. I mean, we found out what we needed to find out, and I was ready to put it to bed. Unfortunately, there shortly after we is when we found out he decided to try to punch back, saying we're lying about it. Well, liars don't present evidence to support their facts. We've got the evidence to support our facts. I'm still waiting on his evidence to support his facts. Nobody's seen the evidence to support his facts. So until that happens, then this is the way it is. I mean, and here's my deal with it. I'm not even the one making this stuff up. I mean, you can't even make this up. This is stuff that is on the internet right here, readily available at your fingertips. I'm just a middle guy. I'm just a deliverer. I'm not the one that created the data. I just searched it up. So don't kill the messenger. You know, I just
Actually,
I don't know what else to say about that. I mean, I didn't claim to be a psychic medium. I didn't claim to interview Ted Bundy. I'm not the one that did that. He is. All we're trying to do is get to the facts of it, and this is the facts that we have found. These are the facts that we're sharing. Be careful, be very alert, and know who you're getting on your podcast from now on. If you've had them on, I'm sorry. If you planned on having them on, again, I'm sorry, but I don't know what else to say about it.
and I mean it's unfortunate, but that's the way it goes.
Yep.
You come into our field with outrageous claims that people are going to buy into, and somebody's going to look at you cross-eyed, and they're going to say, "This dude's full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
I need to do some research," and they're going to find out the truth eventually.
Yep. Yep. Let me see.
And truth came out. Truth hurts. Sorry about your damn luck, Robert, but it's out there.
I'll be right back there, Brian. 1 second.
Is there anybody that has any questions? Any comments or concerns? So, I mean,
Okay.
you know, was there was there anything else that we were gonna add? Hello, Kenny. You shocked
Hello.
the shit out of me there, dude. I didn't see you there. Kind of just popped up on my screen.
I'm sneaky like that.
Well, welcome to Shadow Zone, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. How you guys doing?
Well, we've seen better days there, Kenny.
I'm sure. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
it's kind of a rough night tonight to have to do this to somebody I really admired and really, I mean, top 3 admirers in the paranormal.
Hmm.
Um,
It's always hard when you find out something about someone you admire, and you find out that what you admire about them kind of crumbles apart and was pretty much a false idol, and it sucks. I get it. Um, and the information that I got, I mean, Taryn's the one that kind of gave me a heads up on this, and I do a lot of investigations. I'm a skeptical investigator, so I don't think we've ever met. Um, but I write articles and produce videos for Skeptical Inquirer magazine. So when I've been doing that for several years now, and when I do research a topic, it's weeks and months for one case easily, and I solve mysteries. I don't do I'm not being derogatory. I don't do ghost hunting kind of thing. I do scientific investigations. So when it comes to people, if they make claims like this, and this gentleman, unfortunately, he's making a lot of claims and potentially dangerous claims, and that's why it's so important. Because he's constantly talking about working with kids and the paranormal children that he talks about. There is one big problem I have, because he puts out a statistic about every 16 seconds, a children of the paranormal considers suicide because they don't have anybody to talk to. And that's a big deal to me, because I want to know where he got that stat. Because I guarantee there's no studies that have been done on that can support that. And I think he's saying that to get sympathy from people.
The largest thing that alarms me, Kenny, is that if you watch his podcast, he'll refer to parents a lot of times will reach out to him.
Yes.
And just that statement alone, no offense, it scares the hell out of me. I'm a father, I've got kids, and I couldn't imagine one of my children ever needing to have to go through something like that. But for these parents to have to reach out to him and not have the credentials to back up his claims, that's very, very dangerous.
And honestly, I don't really believe that about him. I don't. The stories that he's giving, the changes in his story, the details every time he tells it, because I've been listening to podcasts featuring him, and his story changes with each telling. So I'm not even confident that he, like, when he's telling these stories, because the podcast I listened to about the exorcism, he goes into detail about an exorcism of a gentleman named Kevin, and the details that he gives are kind of vague. And he talks about how this guy Kevin was at a ball game, and 2 people behind him were talking about Robert, and that sparked his interest. And he's like, "Oh, you got a phone number for him?" And it's so far out of whack that this guy popped up not too long ago. Like, he popped onto the scene not too long ago. He has not been a staple in the community for like years. Even if you go back through his Facebook page, which I did, I went back 2014 and started scrolling through, and there's no mention of this stuff until more recently. So that's a red flag. And I mentioned the priest, the father, Michael, whatever. That's who he mentions. So he says him by name in the podcast, and he actually brings up how he was featured on Zach Baggins' ridiculous mockumentary. I'm sorry, that's my personal opinion. The Demon House thing, but looking into them, you mentioned the SMC employment because that was a court case that he went to court because he was suing because he thought he was entitled to FMLA, which
Right.
he was not because he didn't follow the actual. I mean, I've been through that. I've actually used FMLA, and I know the procedure that you have to go through. He did not.
Well, the final decision on the judge's position with that was that SMC was actually able to provide a audio recording where he had denied or declined the FMLA Act program,
Right.
and that was the determining factor for the judge to decline his suit.
Right.
Mhm.
But the rest of his work history, and I have it going back to 1980, and none of it reflects anything to do with psychology, forensics, profiling, nothing. It's all sales rep and engineering. So,
Yeah.
and even his education history, which I was able to go back and look at through, let's see, through 75 to 84, where he claims to be in Florida, going to University of Florida. He wasn't. He was in Illinois, and he was attending university in Illinois and not for psychology. So none of his story checks out. So this means this guy is very dangerous and should not be trusted whatsoever.
Correct.
And what about the government in Illinois trying to make it to where paranormal investigators have to be licensed and pay a fee to investigate in the state of Illinois?
All right. So currently, there is nothing I can find on that legislation whatsoever, and I do know that here in the United States, when they're discussing legislation and you've got a particular bill in legislation, that's public knowledge, and we're notified of that stuff. There's nothing on it anywhere.
So is that another claim that he made?
What the claim was is that Illinois was going to be discussing in legislation wanting to regulate the paranormal field in Illinois, where investigators and
He's so full of shit.
groups would have to have a license to investigate. Well, my problem with that is this: let's entertain just for a second that that's even half true. The problem Illinois would have with that is not only the paranormal field, but they're going to have the scientific field as a problem too. Because the minute they regulate the paranormal field, well, now we're a legitimate particular field that the scientific field don't want to recognize it. They'll have to. Once you regulate it, it's all over with.
Yeah, that would be another topic of discussion. I think I don't agree with that, but I think this is just something he's pulling out of his ass. There's nothing. There's no reason to do that. This is a hobby. Nobody gives a shit about legislation for this, and it's just ridiculous. It's something to spew out of his mouth in order to sound like he's smart, like he's something important, like he's on top of things. And this is classic narcissist. It's just he's all about himself. And he's not this caring person that he's trying to present himself as. He is a very selfish, narcissist person that you should just stay away from. That's it. I don't. And as you said, you guys have pointed it out. All these records that you show and mention, they're all public knowledge. Everything's out there. Everything that I found is all out in the public domain. All you have to do is do the work. You just have to spend some time and research, and you can find it all. Verified claims. And this is something that everyone needs to hold everyone else accountable for. If you make a claim, hey, if I make a claim saying I'm a forensic psychologist, I better damn well have the paperwork to prove it. If anybody asks me, like I write a column for a science magazine, I produce videos for a science magazine. You ask me for proof, I can show you proof. I can show you the articles. I can show you where to go. I can show you the magazines that my work appears in.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
That's it. And there should be no shame. There should be no hesitation. If somebody asks for proof of your credentials that you're promoting, show them.
That's right.
I don't understand what the problem is.
You know, any doctor's office I've been into, no matter what field it is, they've got their license, they've got their certificates, they got everything to show what they are right there on the wall.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're required, but yeah,
and,
they're required.
Right.
To, yeah.
And when you asked this guy, hey, what's the credentials? Well, he'll tell you, but he doesn't want to show you anything.
And you see, it's like me claiming to be a professional wrestler. You know, yes, I trained in the ring. Yes, I had a few matches, but unfortunately, before I got licensed as a professional wrestler in the state of Washington, I had a back injury which forced me out of the ring. I mean, you know, it's like me saying, oh, yeah, I've wrestled for 20 years and I've wrestled in Madison Square Garden and Emperor Arena, but I don't have my license or any of the paperwork to show you.
Right. Right. And if you don't have the paperwork, then all you're doing is blowing smoke up people's asses. And that's it. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you or tell anybody else. I mean, that's it. He claims to have done this stuff. He claims to have been part of the 2 exorcisms, which he initiated. And, you know, maybe he was part of it. Maybe he was, but there's a lot of things that he claimed, especially in the details that he relayed. There are details, and I don't want to get into it because that'll be a long explanation, and there's a lot of things. But he brings up several concepts within Catholicism that he got completely wrong. And luckily, I have a friend that works for Catholic Answers, and I was able to consult him, and he listened to it, and he's like, "There's a few things that are wrong here," and we went down the list. So yeah, nothing he's saying is panning out. And just do your work, do your homework, you know. And I think this is good that you're at least getting it out there, and hopefully more people will see it before they decide to have him on their show.
Yeah, that's really the focus at this point, because I've seen so many. When you go on YouTube and just type in his name, it's like, oh my Lord, it is so alarming how many he's been on. Yeah. And I think what it looks like to me, and this is just my opinion, it looks like he's just seeked out as many podcasts as he could to get his word out there. Yeah, because he's on a lot of them.
Yeah, and he's looking for that spotlight. You know, he's found a niche, and I think one of you mentioned it earlier. Like, he just doesn't think people will look him up, and unfortunately, I think for the most part, he's right. You know, there's not a lot of people that will doubt his claims, that will challenge his claims.
Well, if you think about it, he's 67 years old. You know, I mean, who's going to doubt a 67-year-old guy who has the time frames almost beautifully matched?
Yeah, you know, you don't look into it.
Exactly. You take him for his word. And ultimately get screwed in the end.
And when you pull the heartstrings, you know, when you start talking about taking care of kids, and I mean, some of the, like on Paranormal Brew, when he was on there, I mean, he was bringing out the waterworks, you know, crying and everything, talking about it. But then I hear him on a different show, and he says it without any kind of spark of emotion, because it's all routine. It's rehearsed. He's saying the same story over and over again, but he adds a little bit more here and there because he forgets some of the minor details, or he wants to change it up a little bit because he doesn't think anyone's going to compare. Who's going to listen to like 6 or 7 podcasts of the same guy and compare them? You get a notebook, and I sit here and I go through, and actually these are notes from investigating him. Writing down what he says and then comparing it, put the timestamp on it, and then go to the next podcast, listen to that, write down notes. look it up, see what I can find.
Yep.
But yeah,
Now, Kenny, can I ask you a serious question?
absolutely.
Anywhere in this podcast have we slandered at all?
So I don't think you slander, and let's go. I mean, the best thing that we can do here is look up and go off a standard definition. So
Oh.
slander means the action of or crime of making a false spoken statement damaging to a person's reputation. So
Mhm.
if you're doing if you're making something up, if you're just pissed off and you're saying no, he doesn't have this. There you go. That's good. If you're making false statements about somebody, then yeah, then they can come after you for slander. But in this case, there are public records, and you guys are showing that. So, is there slander? I'm not a lawyer, but I would say no. And this would be the kind of stuff I would put in one of my articles, but I'd have everything like my articles when I submit them. They do go through a lawyer who checks it to make sure that I can't get sued and my publisher doesn't get sued. But they would check it for that and make sure you have documentation, as long as you have all your records and your documents to back it up.
So look, really what we've done here is we've just brought to light facts that we have been able to gather that was available to us.
Yes.
Is what we've done.
Yes.
We've made no opinionated statement here. We're not slandering anybody. We're giving facts. What you do with those facts at the end of the day is your decision. It's your choice.
Right. And I mean, as you showed, and I think you did the right thing by not only showing the documents, but telling people where they can find them themselves, because
Yep.
that shows like, hey, don't take my word for it. Here, you can look it up, because I mean,
Absolutely.
anyone with half decent skills at Photoshop can change things around, but
Absolutely.
now that they can go search it themselves. So
yeah, and
but yeah.
And after the podcast, if you're wanting to research this and you're having troubles locating it, message me and I can send you in the right direction and you can look at it yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, if he sees this and he gets all pissed off, and I don't see any reason why he would actually come after you at all, because then if it comes to a court case, he'd have to admit or show proof of everything that he claims that he did, and he's not going to do that.
No, and I've even stated if you show proof, if you can show proof beyond any kind of doubt, and I think really what it's going to take at this point is you're going to have to show legitimacy of your credentials. Anybody can come up with a fabricated looking certificate,
Right.
So anybody can do that on a computer these days.
I mean, you can buy certificates of completions at the dollar store.
Yep. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Oh, excuse me, not the dollar store anymore, the $1.25 store.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, I mean, does Kenny have anything that Eldon and Brian didn't say? I don't know. Did I? I think we probably had most of the same information. I mean, everything you have, you put up, I had. I just went into more detail, I guess, about his work history. But again, like from 1980 on, nothing to do with psychology, forensics, criminal profiling, nothing. No government work. It's all sales rep.
So, Kenny.
Yes, sir.
In your professional opinion, with no psychology found, with no forensic found, with none of that information found, do you believe, in your personal opinion, that he had done an interview or had been at Ted Bundy's execution or has written and received letters from the Son of Sam, Dahmer, and the BTK killer?
Absolutely not. No. I mean, it's very simple. He's been asked several times. I know at least one person that has asked him straight up, where are the letters? Can we see the letters? And that, I mean, you got to think, for that category, that's murderabilia. That's something that some people would pay a lot of money for, and it would be a collector's item. So why would you not show that off? Why would you
Right.
not say, oh, I'm on a podcast that has video. Let me show you. I do have a letter here. But
Mhm.
he won't produce anything. He has not produced anything. And I mean, and also you've seen the evolution of that, because it started with Ted Bundy,
No.
and then it grew into these other serial killers. So
Right.
it was like, okay, you found it was almost like he had that addiction to attention, because he found that he got attention because everybody wanted to know about the Ted Bundy interview. So he
Mhm.
made up shit about that. Or I think he made up shit about that. But then he went into these other serial killers. So
Mhm.
he's building the narrative. He's building the story.
Well,
And
I mean, it's not hard to go online and find, 50 different documentaries about, said serial killer.
yeah,
Mhm.
I could hop online and say that the Night Stalker was my sister's cousin's ex-boyfriend, or he's my dad, and have every little detail about him because I've read the book and I've watched every documentary about him and I know all there is to know about him.
Mhm.
well, and if you notice in most of his stories, on just about every story, he definitely puts himself at the center of the attention in everything, from the exorcisms to the interviews, to setting up the interviews with the alleged serial killers, to everything with the children. He always puts himself at the center,
Mhm.
Ooh,
and that's a
Aaron
problem.
here just said something. He said how Ted would tell him why he would kill and rape, but Ted Bundy did not admit guilt until 3 days prior to the execution.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
got a lot
that's
wrong.
correct.
He got Ted Bundy's final words wrong. What else did he do?
His burial was wrong. He was cremated and spread over the Washington Cascades.
Right. And I mean, he talks about going in there, and that the warden or the lawyer had stipulations about there's no videotape, there's no audio recording, there's no note taking. That's bullshit, because there's two reporters that have like over 100 hours of audio tape interviewing the guy. So that's a bullshit stipulation.
Yeah.
If any, I mean, that's just ridiculous. And
I'll be
you know
right
what?
back, guys.
That's a CYA move. That's a cover your ass move, because now he doesn't have to produce anything to show he was really there. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. And I mean, this serves as a lesson. You know, this guy has gotten his way into so many podcasts to promote himself, to get so many people believing him, to feeling an emotional attachment to him because of his stories. He hooked everyone.
Hook, line,
And
and sinker.
yeah. And this is why you really have to do your due diligence. You have to research people. You have to verify claims, and instead of just, I know it's easy, because I have two podcasts that I do, and it's easy to just have someone come on, as a
Oh,
guest. You hear about them, and you're like, oh yeah, I want them on too. But man, it's really, it opens up the opportunity for people like this to just jump on and say whatever they want and gain some kind of popularity.
and you see the circle that we're a part of, he gained a lot of popularity very fast.
Yeah.
He was on my show. He went to my buddy's show. He was invited into the circle. Hundreds of people adored and loved him.
Yeah.
And then
Some
this
still
comes
do. Some still do.
So,
This
yeah.
is why you need to do your homework on anybody that you put on your podcast.
Yeah.
Especially with these kind of claims.
Yeah. I mean, I don't,
Search them on Facebook, search them on YouTube, search them on Google.
yeah, I don't bring on anyone on my shows that I don't know, or I haven't done background checks on, and just to make sure. But most of the people I know, I've already interacted with. several
Mhm.
times, and I mean, I do more of a science-based show anyway.
Mhm.
So most of the people that I do are professionals, and I know they have credentials, and I verified their credentials. So
Right.
it's
Well,
just a lesson.
it, it would be like, for example, you having me on your show, me telling you I'm an 8-year investigator. I ran my own team. Okay, well, where can I check your credentials? I'll just type in Spokane Ghost Crew on Google, and 4 or 5 pages are going to pop up. I've got credentials all over the place for running a team.
I think
I
where
mean,
I'm more concerned is with his claim of being licensed and doing
that's
work in psychiatry. Is I think, I can say that I've had this team for X amount of years, and you know what? Really, when you think about that particular scenario, it's not really damaging. Who's it damaging? Just my credibility is it. It does no damage to anybody listening to it. Where the real damage lies is when you've got people that are watching podcasts of people that they trust. They're watching trusted podcasts with people on there that are telling lies. When they're found out, it really diminishes the credibility of those hosts and their podcasts, especially when they're trying to make some kind of a, means of living, or, that's their livelihood. It's damaging in that sense. It's also damaging to the credibility, of people seeking out help in psychiatry. If he's claiming that particular, you know, level of education and those types of credentials,
mhm.
that's damaging if they're using his services, which I can't tell you if he is or he isn't, because if he is, he's obviously practicing unlicensed.
Yeah. I don't think he's practicing.
I don't either.
I really don't.
I don't either.
Yeah. I think he's I don't want to say what I think, because it's not really flattering, but I don't think he's doing anywhere near what he claims he's doing.
Mm-mm.
But all right, I got to get going. But I appreciate you guys letting me pop on and just sharing some
Absolutely,
information.
Kenny. Well, thanks for coming on and visiting with us, man. It was great
You're
talking
welcome.
with you guys.
Take it easy, guys.
All right, take
Bye.
care.
You too, Kenny.
All right, so what do you say we wrap this up, Brian? I think we've said what we had to say, and anything else I think is just pretty much beating a dead tree at this point.
Yep, I think we've done everything we
So
claimed we were going to do, and
let's recap.
story
Let's
is
recap.
dead.
Let's recap here. Let's recap.
Yeah.
So obviously we're not lying. We've been able to prove that. We've showed the evidence. We've showed the supportive documents to show that everything that we've stated is in fact true based upon the information we're getting. So we're definitely not liars, as was earlier indicated, have been said by this fella. We're obviously not lying. We're just messengers of the truth. Secondly, I can tell you that we don't endorse, support, or back Robert Riggi in any aspect of the paranormal field, nor will we ever support him in the paranormal field. That's our stance, and I speak for both Brian and Jason, which are the other two co-founders of Global United, and we are all three in agreement on that. So we will stand strong with that.
Absolutely.
However, we have no animosity to anybody that wants to stand behind them. That's their choice. If you want to support that, that's definitely up to you. However, Global United's position is we are not supportive of it, and we won't support that. Anything to add, Brian?
Well, folks, if you like the show, hit the like and subscribe button. And please, everybody on here, share this, share this, share this. It's time to pull the weeds out of the field. But other than that, we have a great show coming up Friday. Yeah, We'll be here Wednesday. We'll be here Friday. We'll be here Saturday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So, you got anything else to add there? Oh,
Yeah, I want everybody to have a good night. And if you have any questions on this topic, you can message me personally on Facebook. I'm available, and I'll work with you on any questions you might have. Beyond that, have a good night, folks.
with that being said, we would like to thank our sponsors, D's Ghost. If you need equipment built to your specification at a fair price, go to dsghost.com. And if you are tired of a Facebook-like atmosphere, all the drama on Facebook as you're a paranormal investigator, then go to the land of the free, the land where nobody judges you. The perfect platform has arrived. Parapost Network. You can download it in your Google Play Store for free. It's available for Android, for Apple, laptops, and computers. And if you don't want the app, just go to parapost.net and sign up now.
Okay, guys,
Man,
have a good night. And we'll talk at you later.
Peace.